Right side! Right side! Hit! Hold it hard. Awesome. Sweet. On the left.
You will never, and I mean never, separate politics from guns. It won't happen. If you own a gun, you by definition are political. That's because millions of people out there subscribe to what I have always called the protectionist mindset. They don't think you have a right to be armed at all. They don't think you're competent enough, that you'll only damage society, you'll damage yourself, and they elect politicians who believe the same way. Last time I checked, there are still a lot of bad guys out there, and good people in the United States, actually all around the world, will always have a need to be armed. And by the way, that is a God-given natural right. It has nothing to do with the government. Now, I opened by saying all this because 2 days ago, you guessed it, you know it, Barack Hussein Obama was reelected as the President of the United States. Gun ownership here in the US, I have always predicted if this were to happen, will take a turn for the worse. It could be very grim. And as a gun owner, you could continue to be public enemy number one, and actually the guns on the table could be public enemies number 1 and 2. Doesn't matter what kind of gun you got, single shot 22, single shot shotgun, lever action hunter, bolt action hunter, AR-15, AK, or pump shotguns of this variety. They don't like it, and they don't like you for owning it. Maybe it's a good time here as 2012 comes to an end, if you can find it. I know how that goes. Come on, kel-tec, to go out and buy one of the best combat pump shotguns in the world, the kel-tec KSG, ladies and gentlemen. Go buy 2. Just for the protectionists. They're really going to hate this gun. Jumping right into philosophy of use, because this is a combat shotgun, purpose-built. Never ever center the argument on recreational shooting, sport shooting, or hunting. That is not where we center the argument for our God-given right to self-defense. We center it on our right for self-defense against bad people doing bad things, like I've talked about forever here in the Nutnfancy project, and actually tyrants, which also do bad things. The gun gives you ultimate control over your life. When all hell breaks loose, when WRL ensues, this can be law. Doesn't mean you're going to do bad things. It just means, hey, ultimately I'm in control of what's going to happen to me. I have some freedom. So my wife doesn't get raped. So I don't get ripped off. So I don't get killed. All that stuff we always talk about here in TMP. KSG, baby. Combat Shotgun Supreme. Philosophies of use. I love this shotgun. It's probably coming through to the camera. Which, by the way, I'm finally using my better camera. Took me forever. It's weak, man. Weak, nothing. I know. First philosophy of use. You'll love this. CQB. This is a perfect, ideal urban weapon. House to house. Confines tight. Bring your KSG, yo. Maybe this Remington 870 Express Tactical, which by the way is an outstanding shotgun. Love it. Might not be the best choice if you're going around corners hunting for bad guys. Maybe you're on an entry team, military type. Not really military, but LE types. I don't know. You know, do I want to round a corner with that long shotgun? No. So my choices are if I need a scatter gun, is to go with that. Maybe a shorter one. There's several autos that are shorter, SBR type. I could go with a pistol grip shotgun. That has its own disadvantages. It's hard to shoot accurately. It hurts the wrist. I've done lots of shooting with that in buckshot over the years. I hate it. It's tough. It's not enjoyable. The KSG blows it away. Just in terms of ergonomics and firepower, we'll get to that. CQB weapon, absolutely. Maybe a good time to roll in the fact that I hate bullpups. I really do. I've never really liked bullpups. When you're talking tactical carbines, the kel-tec RFB, you haven't seen a review on that, have you? There's a reason for that. I don't really dig it.
Don't know why I'm hurrying.
But when I get all the capabilities that the KSG gives me, I do dig it. I'll put up with a a bullpup configuration for that. That's because the shotgun by nature is very rounds limited, like that gun. You're reloading these things all the time. It is a reloading exercise. It will be with the KSG, but it's twice as good.
What's up?
Because of magazine capacity. Because of that and other factors that we'll talk about, I can put up with a bullpup configuration. When we get to ergonomics, I'm going to lay it on the line as how, after shooting hundreds of rounds personally through this gun, how I look at the gun, its comfortable or non-comfort during shooting. I'm a big believer. We're talking philosophy. People love this about the Nutnfancy project. I don't just review bare bones, go over specifications and stuff you can find in 10 seconds off of Google search. I talk about systems. Integration of systems. And I think, for instance, let's say you go into WROL, all heck breaks loose. I believe in what I call a force spectrum on your team. If that's a neighborhood team, keeping the peace, awesome. You should have some AR-15s, AKs there, tactical carbines, and you should have some shotguns. Maybe I have a four-man team. I'll have maybe at least one shotgun for close stuff, huge knockdown power, and then I'll have some rifles, carbines. I'm a big believer in that concept. Like down in South Central LA during the Rodney King riots. I mean, you saw that, although the photos I saw, the news reports I saw way back when, a lot of you kids are too young to remember that. It's funny, I was looking at their rooftop arsenal, I was like, that sucks, they should have done this, that, and that. KSG would fit right into the mix on that. CQB, house-to-house fighting, it's probably one of the best, at least pump shotguns out there, maybe even better than auto because of its magazine capacity. Next one, you'll dig this, car-to-car shotgun. When would you ever need to do that, Nutnfancy? I don't know. When would you ever need to defend your home? Who knows? But if you're in a vehicle where confines are tight, KSG. Look how short that thing is. 26 inches overall length. Very maneuverable. I'm not banging into stuff with this. Just watch a police cruiser that's racking an 870. They got to maneuver it in a certain way. It's slow into action because it's a longer weapon. KSG is very short, very quick into action. It points very rapidly. Car to car, you can still manipulate the weapon, jack a new round in. You're not running into stuff, banging. Absolutely. By the way, slugs, extremely devastating in car environments against glass, against steel. I'm talking car doors. I've conducted tests myself. Even buckshot works great. This is double-aught buck over there. Outstanding. Number 4, less so, but double-aught buck, very good against doors. Sometimes even glass. So, compared to a pistol, it's night and day. The tactical carbine, like an AR-15, better still. I wouldn't say against a slug, but I'm saying buckshot, maybe more precision. But again, force spectrum, lots of different options. Next, I'll say duffel gun, specifically duffel bag gun. Short overall length. You can fit it in the bag. It doesn't draw attention to itself like that one would. Hey, what's that guy got in the duffel bag? Well, Nutnfancy, when would you ever need to do that? I don't know. Will guns become illegal here in the U.S. by good citizens that were made into law-breaking citizens by the laws? Who knows? Have your options ready to go, dude. That's what I say. Duffel gun, outstanding. And my audience are good civilians, good folks, family people. Lots of LE. Duffel gun. I wouldn't say a good, I don't know, concealable firearm. It's just too heavy. too thick and broad. I would go with, I don't know, kel-tec sub 2000. It's like a semi-auto sub gun. How about POU of recreation? For me, and that's why people watch these videos, I would say no. Usually. If you run birdshot in it, it's fun. This style of gun for me is funner. I like its standard configuration stock. I really do. It's just funner to shoot. One of my favorite pump action shotguns. You saw it, by the way, in the Eat Lead drill early 2011 when this gun was initially tested. We were actually part of the testing crew for kel-tec. A lot of the things we came out from that drill were integrated into this version, as you will see. When we ran that, though, I really liked running the Winchester 1300. It's slick, it's fast, it's got a sighting rib. It does not have near the magazine capacity of this. But if we're talking recreational, what's funner for me to shoot? Probably that one. But the KSG is a tool, and if you look at it in that respect, then you will gain respect for it. Home defense, POU. The good and the bad are as follows as I see it. The good is it has a provision for mounting a light. Every shotgun should. These more conventional pump shotguns, it's more problematic.
Right there, left.
You know, you're going to have to put a barrel band, magazine band on here. You can run some pick rail. Mesa Tactical makes all kinds of stuff. Albeit I'll say Mesa Tactical stuff is always way too heavy. But here you got a 6-inch Picatinny rail on the bottom. Easy to integrate a light with a scope ring. Maybe a specific purpose-built flashlight mount. Good to go. The good is, like we said earlier, CQB, if you have to go walking around your house searching a bad guy, it is going to be very portable, close to the body, very difficult for said bad guy to take it away from you. The bad in that scenario is you shouldn't be walking around the house. You should be calling the police, bunkering down, and if the bad guy comes in your safe room, then you let him have it. Done. Another bad thing is sometimes I think the overall length is best for a home defense shotgun, because think of where you're storing it and how you're storing it.
Yep.
I have an 870 by the rack, or in a rack by my bed. It's really accessible. It's right there. How are you going to store your KSG at home? Under the bed, doable. It is short. It is easily doable, but maybe the longer length of accessing the weapon, getting to it, and maybe put it in a rack is an advantage. That's all I'm saying. I wouldn't say hunting gun. No. It's a weapon. It's a combat shotgun. There's guys that have done it, shot skeet, trap with their KSGs. I hear good reports. I'm going to jump right into ergonomics, and while we talk on to ergonomics, that's POU, by the way, hope you liked it. I'll throw in weight, balance, innovation, design, maybe some other crap there. Starting off with the weight, it's not super light. It's 7 pounds 10 ounces with these PRI, this is Precision Reflex BUIS running on top of this one. So I weigh it empty 7 pounds 10 ounces. Not super light. I think naked it's around 7 pounds, and that's better, but I don't know, my scale, that's just what I came out with. Around 8 pounds, 8.5, 8 pounds 8 ounces, 8.5 loaded with 2 3/4. So, but that's going to be about on par with this stuff. I think this is 6 something, the 870, so it's going to be lighter. The KSG is not the lightest thing around. Nor is it the thinnest thing around. That's a dummy shell, propping it up. Look at the thickness on it. You compare it against a conventional pump shotgun. Big difference. Big difference. Yeah. But if you run a VG on here, it's not a factor. In fact, I highly, highly recommend you run a vertical grip on your KSG. Totally recommend it. Because you need to rack this thing with some conviction, bro. That's right. You need to man up when you shoot a KSG. Don't be a puss. Rack it with authority, all the way back, all the way forward. If you do that, jumping ahead to reliability, you probably won't have any problems at all. If you short stroke it, just like you do the 870, the 500 series Mossberg, 590, Winchester 1300, Ithaca 37, you could have issues.
You have to jack the slide forward.
Especially since it combines the ejection and loading port into one, just like the Ithaca 37 did. And I have seen some wicked jams in Ithacas. Police departments for years ran Ithacas back in the 70s and 80s. They loved them, except when the troop short-stroked it. Then they had to break out the pliers. The KSG can do exactly the same thing, dudes. We saw it in Eat Lead. If you short stroke it, we had some interesting jams out there. I can't really remember if it was operator error or we could attribute it to that version of the gun. Don't remember. But it shut the gun down. In the testing that I've done in 2012 KSG, zip, zero, nada, jams. It just worked great. And I would not hesitate at all using it in the combat role for me. So I endorse it. Ergonomics, innovation, design, all that crap. We've actually done a tip to stern review of the KSG at both SHOT Show with our buddy Chad, and then in the field again with the Eat Lead drill. We showed you everything, but I'm going to do it again for guys who haven't seen it, won't look up. The multi-part, very fun by the way, Eat Lead drill. There's your muzzle business end, yo. What makes this gun so freaking wicked are the fact that it has 2 magazine tubes. 1, 2. 6 rounds of 3-inch mag, 7 and 2 3/4 inch. We'll talk about the other stuff here in a second. That's excellent. Right above it is your 18.5-inch barrel, full length for your reference. Same one as that, lengthwise. Bullpup configuration allows that. Going back to philosophy of use, again, using this 26-inch overall form factor, what other shotgun are you going to fit in that size right there? It's probably going to be a sawed-off pistol grip. maybe a very abbreviated pump. I just don't see that happening. And you're going to have a very limited rounds capacity. I've always laughed at shotguns like that. Oh, this thing is so awesome. What's your rounds count? 4? 4 plus 1? I'm like, not interested. Not interested. No way. You can unscrew those magazine caps. We'll talk about disassembly a little bit. There's your sling attachment to the front. Kind of got to be careful with this because you can actually have your sling fall around to the front of the muzzle and you'll blow it right off. Yeah, be careful of that. 12-inch pick rail on top. That's outstanding. And I got to tell you, I really liked running BUIS on this. Not a red dot. For lightweight. Also simple and reliable. Notice I totally painted that front post. That's a thinner AR-15 post on there. Sights work just so good on it. Even though it's a short sight radius on the 12-inch rail, for this shotgun, it just seems like it comes together very nicely. You can easily put a red dot up there. You may have to block it to raise it up or get your fat cheek situated right on that stock. It's going to be glass reinforced nylon for the KSG, just like we see in a lot of their guns. And then the steel parts are extremely high quality 4140 steel. By the way, cylinder bore on that. Future versions will have screw and chokes. Hey Chad, when's that coming? Any day now, screw and chokes. 2 years later, not there. That's kind of kel-tec. I love kel-tec. We love kel-tec, but they just have a different way of coming out with stuff. I mean, guys are pissed. They can't get this gun. The promised guns just don't come. We still love KT. No one's doing this. Who else is doing guns like this? At this price point, albeit it's not really an expensive gun, this one. Nobody. So we put up with KT's weirdness and keep our fingers crossed that maybe one day we'll actually see it. Talking about the screw and chokes. By the way, you'll be impressed how that cylinder bore shot. Outstandingly. Magazine tubes are right here. This is your slide unlock. And then in the magazine tubes, you'll have witness holes built in. The idea of that is that you'll be able to keep track of your, there we go, I'm trying to show you this, your ammunition. This is not the only bullpup combat shotgun out there. There's another one made in Turkey. It's called the UTAS or UTS 15. Kind of the same concept. It has a different approach though. You actually load it from the right side through a port. Has big milled slots you can see the shells in. And I'll also say that will actually allow a lot of dirt and grit into the magazine tube. So I prefer this design. Much prefer the KT design. We have seen in TMP times when big old slotted magazines were dropped in the dirt. That magazine is done. Your gun just became unoperational. And it's even worse with a tube-fed shotgun because you cannot swap this out. It's not like we put in a new magazine. So I prefer this. You know, if I see the shotgun shells, great. If I don't, whatever. Also, that UTAS, the rear receiver rocks open, so it has better accessibility if you have a jam or something weird going on. Here, this situation. Just if you're good in your technique, I really don't think you're going to have a problem. The Ithaca 37 had an outstanding track record. People loved it. Ergos, design, all that crap. Fat bore end. Kind of has some traction on it. That is the standard block pattern we see on the PF9. Other guns in KSG. By the way, the pistol grip is outstanding. Carrying over again from the RFB, other things. The front end though is bulbous. It cries out for the FG. Forward grip. This is a very short Tapco from our friends at Tapco. Love it. Doodle tighten it down too much, so he warped it. But it works great, and that gives you the ability to really rack that gun. Doesn't add hardly any weight or height to the gun. It's just sick. Dual action bars like we see on pretty much all pump shotguns now. Once upon a time they only had single action bars, but those days are thankfully gone. Fully ambidextrous. Slide lever here to unlock it. It's made out of the glass reinforced nylon, and that takes us to the trigger. Talking about design ergonomics. You might be very surprised to say the trigger on the not the RFB, but the KSG is actually pretty good. Forgot to bring my trigger scale, but this one pulls at 6.5 pounds. I wouldn't call it crisp, but it's not obnoxious. It's probably one of the better bullpup triggers I fired. Now, every gun's an individual. You may get your KSG and it pulls at 9. I just don't know. You might be able to do a trigger job on it. But again, you're not going to get everything in a gun. Pick your most important battles. Good job on the trigger, I'd say. And actually, big enough trigger guard. No hot spots that I noted. Just fine. Now, one of the things going back to the Eat Lead drill early 2011 here in the Nutnfancy project, when we were testing, or I should say helping kel-tec test their guns, is when we carried it subgun style, we let it bounce, and we noticed this crossbolt safety turned itself off while we're running and gunning, combat style. And so we put in an input. Actually, it went something like this. We would really like to have a rotational safety, our AR-15 style, or, lacking that, make it stiffer so it's safer. And guess what? They did exactly that. This is a very positive, not rotational, but it's crossbolt, and it's very positive. Doodle and I went out running and gunning with version 2.0, and it ran great. The safety didn't pop off or anything. I'm like, well, they fixed that. Another thing they fixed from our developmental testing by us goofballs in TMP is the loading gate. We noticed on the earlier version, here comes a ProTac by Streamlight, it had some ridges in the bottom there that were catching the shells and made loading difficult. Those are gone. So loading goes much smoother in the KSG. Much smoother. And that will take us to what is either the best or the worst feature of the KSG, depending on your viewpoint. I actually love it, and that is its magazine feeding system. When the KSG first came out, there was a lot of hoopla about, oh, that's so awesome. I guess I should introduce this part first. This is your magazine selector. 3 positions. You can select the magazine, and by the way, whatever the lever that's pointing to is the one it's going to feed from. You can see that the follower here is unobstructed. It's going to feed from this side it's pointing to. I can go feed from this tube right here. Or if I want to single load and do a magazine cutoff, I'll just put it in the center. You guys with me? I know KSG guys are. Okay, so it would say, awesome. Well, here's what I'm going to do with my KSG. I'm going to run non-lethal in this tube, and I'm going to run lethal in that tube. Or I'm going to run buck in this tube, slugs in that one. Okay, after shooting a KSG 500 plus rounds myself, I would say bunk. Bunk. Because running and gunning it in slightly stressed conditions, what I found is all of us were shooting it as follows. We were so concentrated on the target that we would run dry. You saw that in Eat Lead, right? So, you know, we're shooting, bam! When we shoot it till dry, and then we're like always taken by surprise, and then we're like, oh yeah, I've got 7 more rounds. Way I think of the magazine selector is the fastest reload of any pump shotgun on earth. Flip it over, yeah, jack another round, and in the run and gun action, that's what you see guys doing. That's my philosophy. If you think you're going to say, well, buckshot here, slugs on that side, whatever, there's some real disadvantages to that philosophy. One is Okay, so let's say you're close. Bam, 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 buckshot. Oh, long target. Need to switch to slugs. One, you're going to have to have presence of mind of remembering where's what. Well, Nutnfancy, I know it's in the other tube. Okay, let's say you do. Swap it over. Well, what do you have in the pipe? Buckshot. So now you're going to have to do this. Rack around, feed out of the tube. Now you're set for slugs, but you just dumped a perfectly good buckshot round on the ground. Now, alternately, if you have presence of mind, level of training, you can go center position, but you still have a round in the tube. See how complex this can get? But I want to throw a single shot of non-lethal or a buckshot in. I'll talk about the non-lethal here in a second. You still got to get rid of that round, unless you've shot dry. If you let shot dry, not a problem. But if you have another round, whatever it is, it's not what you want, jack it out. You just lost that round, by the way. And now to single load, and it does have that capability, you got to take the shell lifter so it goes flush. Right about, actually go all the way to the rear, right about there. And that's what this dummy shell's for. So now I'm in center, actually I'll just drop it right there. That's how you're going to single load KSG. Doable. Practical? No way. No way. Not from what I've seen. And no one, I don't think, ever is going to train to the level we're doing it day after day after day. That has become second nature, muscle memory, all that other stuff. I mean, if you have a job as a gun instructor, that's what you do for a living, yeah, those guys can get it. The rest of us, including law enforcement guys, forget it. Think of it as a very fast reload. And then getting back to what I think is extremely interesting philosophy, running non-lethal and lethal in another tube, oh my gosh, I would not recommend that. You can make a very bad mistake. Just like I said, hey, I want to go to non-lethal now. What if he forgets that what he has in the tube is lethal? So he switches over the magazine, forgets to clear, forgets to load the non-lethal round, bam! Oh, freak, that was a buckshot round. Guy's dead. Not awesome. Not awesome. Yeah. Oh my goodness. So be careful of that. I think it's overall an outstanding system, but just think of it as a reload. It is a fast reload. Shoot dry, reload. Shoot dry, reload. It beats the heck out of that gun. Fat fingering in there. Maybe you have a tech loader. The tech loader, as we showed in Eat Lead, you can get good with that. It is an option. Not easy to carry, heavy, but it is an option. Yeah, so there you go. Talking ergonomics. Trigger. Receiver. I think they make a receiver cover for this. Some dude somewhere is doing it. I think I would recommend that in cold weather. It's basically this part right here. This is just a receiver right there. Putting your cheek on. You're going to freeze in cold weather. And it's not really that comfortable. Getting to the fact that, in my opinion, you need to man up when you shoot a combat shotgun, especially if you're doing full power slugs. Actually, let me rephrase that. When you're doing anything, you need to man up. Otherwise, you're going to short stroke it. You need positive manipulation of the slide arm, whether in this gun, whether you're in this gun. And you need to really plant that thing, as you see me do. I'm an experienced combat shotgunner going all the way back to the 80s. You need to plant that sucker against your shoulder. Really tuck in there. You need to get into the KSG so it becomes a part of you and it's very compact. Roll over on it and you won't have a problem. But it's kind of in your face because our face on this gun is way back here. We have just come up to this portion of the gun, and so your head is oriented right here. You're going to be more at one, I shall say, with the firing process in the KSG. You're going to get a bunch more smoke, and it's going to be wafting. You're going to be breathing. Speaking from experience, it's just the way it is. It's a bullpup gun. There's a lot going on right here. You're going to be part of that experience. Is it good? Is it bad? Whatever. Overall, I say the recoil is manageable. I think the recoil pad is decent on the KSG. It's not like Sorbothane or anything. I would actually like to see someone do a Sorbothane one. Maybe there is, like Limb Saber does. Maybe there is out there. I didn't look. Since we're here, by the way, that's where you're supposed to attach the slings. The rear sling. Front was up here. Front was back there. That's what I'll say. You could run a sling mount that comes off. Triple G makes one, and you can tie it into here. It comes off and drops at a 45. What I really like to see KSG, or I'm sorry, kel-tec do, is somehow set up I can do the front, but I would like to see a rear subgun mount. So either a flush mount swivel here, so then I can hold it just like a subgun. Like an MP40, H&K, MP5, that would really help. Because the way it's, when it's down here and right here, the gun's going to rotate upside down for you to carry it. Big thing, little thing, I don't know. Works pretty good. On the aft, I think we covered most of the stuff. I'll show you this part. By the way, it comes in multiple colors, black, of course. Then you have the Cerakoted green, the Cerakoted desert tan, which obviously I would prefer. Very cool. Just cool. It's a cool gun, man. Talked about firepower. It blows away the conventional pump shotgun. For that matter, the conventional auto shotgun. Think of it as a 7+7+1 shotgun. You basically have 15 rounds on board with a gun that's 26 inches in overall length. There is why I put up with a bullpup shotgun here. Totally worth it. Reliability and durability. I think I mentioned this already. I'm going to give it an A from what I've seen. I didn't see anything part or anything break. I have heard reports of problems with KSGs, but I don't go by that here in TMP. I can't. I give you a fresh, objective, sometimes subjective viewpoint. That's why you guys watch me. That's what I'm giving you here. I give it an A. I didn't see any problems at all. No parts falling off, and we cranked some rounds through this. In this gun, probably... it wasn't insane. Probably 250 rounds. Maybe more. I mean, we went through box after box after box. I just don't keep track anymore. Thought it was excellent. I don't think you'll have any problems with parts flying off. It seems durable. I remember this too when Chad brought his version 1.0 coming out. That was their demo gun. So before it even came out to TMP, that particular black version 1.0 had a lot of rounds through it. I forget exactly how many. You'll see Chad in the comments on this video. He'll tell you. And, you know, it ran well. Tough gun. And I don't even think he'd cleaned it. I think it came out here dirty. That's Chad. It's like he brought those test mags out with the RFB. I'm like, dude, what are you doing? Well, I just grabbed these from the shop. Of course, there are mag problems with RFB. The gun's good. As long as it has good mags. On to accuracy we go. This will be fun. And I'm going to start off with the recently reviewed FNSLP target. That was at 50 yards. If you guys watch that review, you will see that later shots at 50 yards came really close together. But initially, this is what I was getting. Check out the kel-tec KSG with iron sights from me, Nutnfancy, in August of this year. Bam! Oh my gosh. That's this one right here. That slug. That is amazing for cylinder bore. Now keep in mind, every shotgun is a individual. We all know that, right? So your KSG may or may not achieve that performance. For that matter, your 870 may or may not achieve that performance, and it may like different loads better. But this KSG, I mean, I was flabbergasted the amount of accuracy. Off iron. I'm not even shooting red dot. If memory serves, I may have thrown a red dot. I don't remember, to be honest. This is at 21 yards. Off the bench. This is wad. Since it's 21, the wad was blowing through. Slug. Full power. Basically blowing a hole. Same over here. That's wad. That's the rounds right there. 3 rounds right here. Full power. Out of this KSG. Maybe we don't need screw and chokes. I'll still take them though. 20 yards. Slugs and double odd buck. I think at the time the sights weren't totally zeroed in. That's why I'm shooting low. So bam, bam, bam. That guy had a bad day. This dude did. Bad guy. Tyrant. Having a bad day. Here we go. 21 yards. August this year. This gun right here. Headshots. Running some. That looks like. I was going to say number 4. That looks like number 4. I'm looking at the holes here. I didn't write it down. That's number 4 buck. You know, I didn't count it to give you a percentage, but there you go. That's the throw it's doing at 21 yards, which it's kind of on the long side for a cylinder bored shotgun, if you ask me. Really on the long side, but it's a kill shot. I mean, you can see what that guy took. Another bad day for that dude. There we go. That's double odd bucks. You can see the different hole sizes. Full power. I think this is federal military double-aught buckshot. Ouch! 10 yards. Standing. Headshots with some slugs. I was practicing switching back and forth. I may roll in the footage somewhere. Just wasting that dude. My gosh. Good feeling. Good feeling having that protective capability in such a compact package. 20 yards, standing irons. Low recoil. Slugs. Taking it to the chest. That was a wad, so these were dead center of mass. Number 4 buck. I like mixing number 4 with double-aught buck. I think it's a great mix. I mean, it is a hail of lead coming at you. Accuracy for the kel-tec KSG is outstanding. Outstanding. On par with any other shotgun I've shot in TMP. And blowing some others away for accuracy. So is it, I don't know, this particular example? I don't know. Don't know. Field strip. All I'm going to do actually is take you into, I'm not going to burn the airtime. I don't want to. The manual is outstanding. Good job, kel-tec. I mean, look, this is how you do a manual. It's just simple. So if we talk about, you know, field stripping the gun, we're going to crank it, make sure it's empty, safe direction, and then this is what you do. They have the rear assembly pins. They're right here and right here. I'm not doing this now. Pop them out, pull them out, and then there's 2 places right there in the pistol grip to retain them so you don't lose them. That's kind of special. Pull those out, and then you're going to lift the grip assembly up. Pull the rear stock out just like so, and then somewhere along the way you're going to remove the bolt by tilting it up. There's your parts diagram. Awesome. It's even colorized. Special. If you want to go further in the disassembly process, it'll walk you through that. You'll get in there, clean it, lubricate anything that's shiny. I would use more of a viscous lubricant like Slip 2000 Militech, like I've always said. Reassemblies in the reverse order. There is a little tricky part when you reassemble. You kind of have to, they're showing it here in pictures, insert the bolt sideways from the rear. You need some angling to make it fit in. That's field strip. Hope you liked it. Accessories. I gotta apologize. I didn't do a lot of research to find out what accessories are out there. You'll see guys in comments, and once a gun really gets out there in numbers, a lot of people have it, you'll see the accessories market take off. If, this is a big if, it remains legal. Kind of like the Street Sweeper. Really interesting gun, drum magazine that was spring loaded, just went bye-bye. In the 80s, you may see this happen with this guy. If you get a chance, don't hesitate, don't stop, let go, buy it. If you don't like it, you can sell it so quick it'll make your head spin. For accessories, what I have on it now, M-Bus. I'm saying M-Bus, I should say, sorry, I had said M-Bus on this earlier, so it's on my brain. I'm talking BUIS, backup iron sight. That's how I run it. The only disadvantage of this setup is that I don't have night capabilities. So you might want to think about that. But with a red dot comes added complexity and the possibility that battery just may be dead when you need it. And by the way, you're going to have to remember to turn it on unless you get a Tridge with tritium in it. Then more power to you. You got more money than I do. The sling, it comes with a basic 1.5 inch wide sling. I think it's 1.5 inch. I talked about that setup already. Use this for light. Highly recommend a VG. Loading, by the way, and I'm so glad to remember this, is kind of a pain in the butt with a KSG. Where I can flip the 870, any conventional shotgun, up on my shoulder like you saw me doing recently in one or another video. Doing the KSG is kind of a pain in the butt. You're going to have to dismount it, turn it upside down, and do a dedicated reload. That's probably the way the most of us will do it. Doing it on the shoulder is really difficult because it's way back. And so you got to come back here, find the loading gate, figure out where the magazine selector is, because if you get that wrong, you're trying to load into an obstructed port. It's a hassle. It's not super easy. So I would say just dismount, have someone watch your back while you're reloading, make yourself as low as possible, and you're just going to have to do a dedicated reload. There's no speed loaders as of yet. Can someone adapt something to this port for it? Well, I hope so. I love innovation. I hope so. Accessories, that's, I guess, what I'll leave it at. Value, it's not inexpensive. It's going to run around $800 if you can find it in 2012 prices. I think the UTS-15, the Turkish one, and also there's that South African one, the Neosted NS-2000 are more. I don't have shooting experience with either one, from my research, I would still go with the KSG. It's slimmer, more compact, American made, and I trust it from what I've done with it. It's just a tough gun. I didn't see any breakages on this.
Right side.
The stoppages we talked about and reliability, I'd really be careful about running with that and saying, hey, the KSG has some reliability problems. I would really want to know the resume shotgun-wise of the person who's leveling the criticism. If it's someone I trust, I know they're a good shotgunner, they know how to rack a slide, they know how to man up, plant it in there, you know, and I see it and I'll say, okay, maybe that gun's got some problems. I ain't going to say it hasn't happened. I mean, kel-tec, love you, mean it, but we've seen some quality issues come out of that company. Ooh, one really important thing I want to talk about ergonomically, and it is a bad thing, is when you rack a round out, and I didn't notice this back in Eat Lead 2011 of the KSG, and my dummy round, here it is. I'm going to demo this for you so you can see it. Watch what happens to my hand, okay? You're going to get smacked, and I mean smacked, with the shell, with the KSG. Ready? So I'm shooting, I'm up here, bam, and I'm racking with authority. So where does it hit me? Right here. In testing, it got so bad I was getting bloodied by the KSG. Why is that, Nutnfancy? Why didn't you notice in 2011? Here's why. Because in Eat Lead I was wearing gloves, and if you wear gloves you're probably not going to have any problems because it's bouncing right here on your wrist and it's just going to bounce right off. I was not wearing gloves in recent testing, like in August into September. Me and Tactical Doodle are out there shooting. I'm like, God, my wrist is bleeding, and lo and behold, those rounds are racking right into my wrist. That is an ergonomic downside. There's no way around it. It's part of the design. I shouldn't say there isn't a way around it. Glove up for your KSG. Value, yeah, it's going to be cheaper than those other guns. There's really nothing like it. It's going to be a lot more expensive than this one. Has twice the rounds though. I mean, twice rounds. It's a lot shorter, compact, all the stuff we talked about in POU. So value, I say, is extremely high. U.S. produced, innovative. I mean, George Kellgren, again, coming out with extremely innovative gun. Good on you. Track records being amassed right now. It will really start to accelerate when more guns get into the hands of good civilians and they start putting more and more rounds. I think what you'll see is the kel-tec KSG establishing a very a very strong reputation for reliability and durability. That's what I think. Judging from my own experience, that's all I can go by. Improvements, screw-in chokes, I'd like to see that. I would like to see better sling integration. Maybe up here, on the side right here. Not this. It's too low. Gun flips upside down. Maybe something up here. Lightweight. If you can never lighten the gun, I'm all for that. And that's about it. I can't really criticize the pistol grip. The safety is good as it's strengthened. I would like rotational, but they're not going to do that. It's going to change the whole design. They can't do it. Loading port was fixed. I was worried early on in version 1.0. We said this on camera, by the way, of the magazine lever wearing out in here. I don't know if you guys can see in here. I think that's not an issue. It's been positive in my testing in guns that I've seen with more rounds through them than this one.
91.
Seemed pretty durable. Kel-tec has outstanding customer service, so if you do have a problem, send it back. They'll take care of it. Protectionist in your face. That's what I say. Kel-tec KSG combat shotgun. Probably in this form factor, the best of its type in the world. That is the Nutnfancy review. You need to join the NRA. You need to keep your membership current. Hope you liked the review. Thanks for the friendship and support. I'm done.
All right.